Anyway, we got to 1980. Now, this particular sighting occurred after I had my first martial arts club. And I used to rent the top floor of what was a snooker building. Which is really good, because I used to like to pop down here every now and again and have a game. Can't do it now with glasses, but I used to like to do that then. And I'd open up a karate club above there, just where Margate fire station is, just at the back of that parkway. Anyway, I was going to open up my club because I got kids coming in, and I had to get to the club, get it open, get everything ready, get all the equipment out that I needed, think about the lesson that I was going to give, get my gi on, that's what they call the karate suit. So this is going through my mind when I got there. Have we got pictures?
Yeah, I'll go through those.
Unless you know Margate, it's very difficult for me to explain too much. But anyway, I got to normally there's a parking space next to the club, but unfortunately this was all full. A lot of people in there playing snooker that night. And I had to go around, up Margate, around Margate to the top of the High Street and park in the High Street. I decided that I was going to go between the houses to make a shortcut. So I did this, and I'm walking through and I'm thinking about the lesson I'm going to give and what I was going to talk to the little nippers about and how they've got to be good to mums and dads and all this sort of thing, otherwise I'll be around the sort of man. And as I'm walking down this, you'll see a picture in a little while, as I'm walking down this path, I come out right beside my club. And as I came out of there, I just had this feeling, this awful feeling, that I've got to look up and to my left, which I did. And when I looked up, there was an object there, gunmetal grey. There's a beautiful blue sky. It was summer. It was around about 4:30 when I seen the object. Silent, no sound coming from it, no winds, no engines, nothing. I'm looking at it and I thought, that's an unusual shape. And as it came a bit closer, and it was travelling about 30 miles an hour, it was changing shape and becoming more disc shaped. But that's because of the way I was looking at it, from my perspective, the angle. Anyway, I suddenly realised that this disc was making a slight turn to the left, which it did, and I watched it. I got my chin on the ground. I was trying to lift my chin up, and it went across the top of the club towards Margate Seafront. And I'm gobsmacked. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this is the second UFO I've ever seen. Because now I know a little bit more about them now because they've been in the movie. And it was what I call the traditional shaped UFO disc. Like I said, it was silent, it was moving very slowly. I had plenty of time to look at it. There was nobody around. Nobody I could show, hey, come here mate, have a look at this. Nobody. But I remember thinking, thought came in my mind, did you mean to do this? is this something that you have planned? You knew that I'd be coming down here, and you knew there'd be nobody about. So it's moved away, it's gone over the top of the building, off towards Margate Seafront. I run into the club, I'm opening doors, unlocking doors, running up to the top of the building, because I had the top building, top floor I should say. I run all the way up there, open up the club, run out onto the roof because I had access to the roof, in the hope that I was going to see it. But of course, no, it wasn't there. So, now I'm thinking to myself, what the hell has just happened? Why is this going on? I don't want to see this. I don't want this. I don't need it. I've got things to do. I've got a career to make. I know where I want to go with it. Leave me alone. And that was God's honest truth. So, as I'm getting ready, getting my gear, and all I could think about was this UFO. Silent, gunmetal colour. UFO moving very slowly. Why was it there as I emerged out of between the houses? Why was it there? Was it waiting for me? I don't know. But that's what you begin to think. So, leading all the way up to the lesson when the children started to arrive, and I had to knuckle down to it, which I did. Then I had the adults come, and I worked with them. I couldn't say to anybody, "Oi, did anybody see a UFO flying out here? You know, did anybody see it?" I couldn't ask anybody. I didn't want anybody to think I was nuts. I didn't want my students to think, "Oh, there's Sensei there." That's what it was called back then. There's Sensei there. It is a nutter. He sees things. He's going mad. Dad, Mom, took me out of there. It's not what I wanted. But this is what I was getting.
Right, okay, so it's the Park Place in Margate that you're looking at, that's where it took place. It's just right along from Margate Fire Station in actual fact. And that's the club building. John's club was up here in these upper windows, that was where his club was held.
Dave?
Yes, mate.
Sorry, mate. Can you explain that the yellow lines wasn't there then?
Yeah.
And those poles wasn't there?
Sure, yeah. John's saying that these poles here and the yellow lines weren't there at the time, so they have changed things over time a bit. But the general layout of the buildings was correct. Obviously, this is a modern day photo of it. So yeah, he arrives at about 4:10 p.m. from the High Street. That's the route that he took. So this is where he parked his car on High Street, and then he's walking through here. So John's drawn this by hand, and this is the houses he's going between, and that's where he came out onto Park Place with the karate club right opposite. He's also drawn the fire station down the road there from it. And as he comes round, he looks round to his left. He glances to his left along Park Place, and there it is in the air, coming in here like this. That's where it took place. Started at 40 degrees elevation, and as John mentioned, there was a shape. At first he thought it was a changing shape, but it wasn't. It was just the angle of it as it's coming in. So initially it looked like this cigar-type shaped dark object as it's approaching, and as it gets nearer, he starts to see that it's in fact this sort of more domed disc-like shape, and then as it's almost overhead, he's looking at it almost underneath, and it's clearly a round disc.
The thing I meant to tell you was that as this object came across, it was reflecting some light. That's why I call it gunmetal. But the underneath was very dark. I couldn't see anything under or around the UFO. There were no markings whatsoever. It was dirt plain. So that piqued my curiosity as well. When I say it was dark underneath, it was. But as I stared at it, I could see something. And as time went by, I began to realise that I was looking or seeing domes. Underneath it, there were 3 domes and 1 in the centre. So a very classic UFO. I'll pass you back the day.
Yes, I've actually I've dealt with a number of other cases on record like that, where there's kind of three either domes or sometimes kind of circular markings in the base of these things. In actual fact, I was literally speaking about an hour before coming out to this meeting with a new witness who's come forward, which was talking about that very thing. So yeah, the object was moving quite slowly, 30 mile an hour. Now, obviously 30 mile an hour is fast enough. A plane, a slow aircraft can fly at 30 mile an hour and stay airborne, but obviously the appearance of this thing meant it clearly wasn't an aircraft. Didn't really fit with any mundane aerial object that I'm aware of. I mean, you could, I suppose you could say somebody had created a large UFO-shaped balloon and floated that over Margate, but it's stretching things a bit, especially when you take the kind of manoeuvres that we saw happen with it, which are very, very interesting. So yeah, there was this slow turn that John mentioned, and it headed off to the west. Now the interesting thing is he was seeing it from the distance come towards him up the road, yeah, and then right as it reaches him, it turns at that point. Now you could say, okay, just coincidence, maybe it's just coincidental, right? But maybe not. Maybe it was there to observe him, it was approaching, and after it had observed him, scanned him, or whatever it was doing, it then got out of there, changed direction, and headed off away. But it didn't shoot away like a bullet, it just kind of slowly moved away at the same speed. So was there some kind of direct observation going on with that? Entirely possible. And that's an amazing case, because it's like a close encounter with this domed disc in broad daylight. Now, they're quite rare. Most close encounters tend to occur after dark. People see usually sort of may see flashing lights on the object, or just it kind of blocking out the sky and this sort of thing. Daylight sightings like this over large urbanised areas are pretty rare, to be fair. So it does make you wonder that there were other witnesses present. But then there were other witnesses off to the west that may have also observed this from other angles and yet to come forward.